This is huge news, ladies and gentlemen. Teamsters decline to endorse a presidential candidate this November. I'm going to tell you right off the bat, that is a de facto endorsement of Donald Trump. What ends up happening, and this is crazy. Let me see if I can just pull this up. We got John Rich here with a great tweet. August 30th, John Rich said, you know him, rock star, country musician star. He says, when this is all over, the Dems are going to wish they had just kept Joe. He says, I still believe the post below will come to pass. Take a look at this. In June, the Teamsters said Biden 44% to Trump 36%. But when they brought in Harris, it is now Trump 58% to Harris 31%. This is apocalyptic for the Democrats. The Teamsters have issued their release on the presidential endorsement polling data saying, for the past year, the Teamsters Union has pledged to conduct the most inclusive, democratic, and transparent presidential endorsement process in the history of our 121-year-old organization. And today we are delivering on that promise to our members, said Teamsters General President Sean M. O'Brien. Our members are the union, and their voices and opinions must be at the forefront of everything the Teamsters do. Our final decision around a possible presidential endorsement will not be made lightly, but you can be sure it will be driven directly by our diverse membership. And then they posted this, and this is from 1:52 p.m. Who should the Teamsters endorse for president in 2024? We can see Town Hall straw poll originally in April to July was Biden 44 to Trump 36.3. RFK was 5.6. Cornel West actually got 1.7. Shut up. And then as of July 24th to September 15th, Harris 34% to Trump 59.6. We're going to round that up to 60%. We're rounding that up. I don't know why they're rounding it down. We're rounding it up. Now, in their research phone poll, it is Harris 31 to Trump 58. Ladies and gentlemen, this is, when I say the Teamsters back Donald Trump, I'm not saying the bureaucrats and the pencil pushers, the paper pushers. I'm talking about the rank and file, meat and potatoes people who are running the show, the Teamsters, the people who do the job, the blue collar American workers are saying Donald Trump.
Well, is there not, I think, a beautiful metaphorical significance to that is the Trump campaign going back all the way to 2016, where it has always been the grassroots, the rank and file membership of the Republican Party. Donald Trump was the first person to put the Republican Party in alignment with their interests and not the donor class, not the, high upper echelon people who I'm sure work at the Teamsters Union and think that, I just love, you're so right, that they put 59.6, that they didn't round up, right? It's all intentional, but I'd say shout out to Trump, and I think it's going to be a good election.
It's a lot of people that weren't voting. I mean, he said he had 30-some%, and then as soon as now the new poll comes out with Kamala instead of Joe, there's 17% more people have actually gotten involved. It was as if...
Well, there were other candidates.
But it still says 6% other candidates, and now 59% of them want Trump. Before it was like 30-some. Like, it's like people were like, not her. We're not bowing down to that.
That's absolutely wild. Kamala Harris was a miserable choice, not to mention Tim Walz. So now you go, look, I got to tell you, man, when you go and you meet these workers and union workers and you hear how they talk and what they have to say, there's no way they're going to align with Kamala Harris. And I believe it was the general president giving an interview earlier, and he says, look, a lot of our members are voting on social issues that matter to them. I'm seeing these responses on X where they're like, why would Teamsters support a president who's anti-union? It's like, my dude, have you actually read Donald Trump's positions on these things? He's definitely not anti-union. He is trying to earn their vote. He wants to win the working class white voter back.
I know a lot of people in New York who are in the union who are maybe liberal leaning, who aren't as plugged into the news, and they see Joe Biden, they kind of buy into his whole shtick as being like the union guy. So it was easy for them, but they know Kamala is a coastal elite who doesn't care about them at all. They don't need to know anything else.
However, not to crash the party, but I also think that we have to look at this story in the context of what has been a rapidly developing news cycle when it comes to the administration of elections here, because there's a difference between votes and ballots, right? And just yesterday, you have Axios reporting on the heels of the state of Pennsylvania coming out about a month ago saying to expect 2022 style delays in election results. This, of course, on the heels of letters coming out from the U.S. Postal Service saying, oh no, we're not going to be able to deliver mail-in ballots on time. Of course, all this fear-mongering that election workers are stepping down because Trump is intimidating them. So much so, CBS News had a story out last week saying, because we have such, amateur hour when it comes to the people who are administrating elections now, we might have, quote, mistakes. That's a direct quote. So as much much as I love these numbers, I think there's always sort of a disconnect in terms of how they actually translate. And frankly, just like you were alluding to, when you see them pick someone who's so woefully unpopular like Kamala Harris is, it's because it's not really about candidate quality. It's about an institution, a system, frankly, the dark money groups that are popping her up. So to them, it doesn't really even matter. You see this in the fact that whether it's, the DNC platform, even Kamala's own campaign website, when they launched it, right, the source code was copying and pasting Joe Biden's stuff.
You guys remember that video where Joe Biden's in that factory and the guy asks him about taking our guns away and the guy yells at the working class dude? This is the Democratic Party. You go look at Vox.com from 2016 and they said the Democrats have become the party of the wealthy or are becoming the party of the wealthy. And they show that most of the people who are supporting Democrats and donating are higher salary, higher income individuals. With Donald Trump stepping in, he brought working class populism to the Republican Party.
Wall Street didn't endorse Trump in 2020. I believe they were very, very much behind Clinton. Or 2016, sorry.
Clinton. We say Hillary.
Well, and that's
when
why
you say
we
Clinton, I'm thinking Bill.
I just see them as like a two-headed monster. It's the same thing in my
But that's why I think the extension that you keep seeing all these, Republicans for Harris, or how many days in the news cycle is it going to be? Oh, a new group of, national security leaders who, frankly, were all Democrats to begin with, are all on the payroll or in some ways linked to the military-industrial complex, directly profit from the Ukraine war continuing. They come out and endorse Trump, and they wheel that out like they think it has any salience with the working class or with people who actually support Trump. But I think this poll shows you just how out of touch and how significant that disconnect is. But they're still going to keep cramming it down your throat because, like I said, I wish we operated in a place where elections were rooted in polls and poll numbers and numbers like this. But it's ballot warfare,
right?
Right.
So I want to show you this from the AP. Teamsters Union declines to endorse Trump or Harris for president. But my favorite part is they say the Teamsters said Wednesday that internal polling of members showed Trump with an advantage over Harris, a fact the Republicans' campaign immediately seized upon by sending out an email that said the rank and file of the Teamsters Union supports Donald Trump for president. Trump called the Teamsters' decision not to endorse a great honor. Dude, it's a great honor, he said. They're not going to endorse the Democrats. It's the big thing. I was watching live. Trump was at a bar in New York. It's called, what is it called? Pub Key? It's meaning public key. It's a crypto bar. And he's like the first president to buy with Bitcoin or something like that. And while he's there, someone asked him, they said, hey, the Teamsters have just announced they're not going to be endorsing a presidential candidate. Trump says, oh, wow, it's a great honor. And as if they said he had been endorsed.
The non-endorsement's the endorsement.
The non-endorsement is, it was funny because when the news broke, everyone's, of course, saying this is a de facto endorsement of Donald Trump. They have abandoned the Democratic Party. This means they are supporting Trump. Trump came out and said it's a great honor. He knew exactly what everyone else knew. The moment the Teamsters were like, we're not getting behind Kamala Harris, that meant the rank and file members wanted a Republican, and the Teamsters Union, the bureaucrats and the pencil pushers don't want to publicly say it.
It's the evolution of the Time magazine from February 2020. What? The secret cabal behind it. The people seem to be behind Trump largely. Right, like the working class people. But then the Time magazine from February 2020 talked about how Trump was technically right. There was a secret cabal working against him to fortify the election. So I think of all this now is like outside of this, and what Natalie's saying is the gross evolution of what happened then, happening now.
Right. The elites of the union don't want to say. But I mean, it's kind of wild, right? You poll your members and they say, we want Trump. You go, okay, we're endorsing Trump. Nope. That's what's wild about it.
Just the phrase "the elites of the union" is like,
oh, I hate
that's there are no, the union's supposed to be all for one. Like there is no elitism in that system. There shouldn't be. Yeah, that's a funny way to look at it. But
look,
I'm in charge of the union all of a sudden.
I like the concept of unions. And so this is the trick they try and get you on. They'll say something like, you're anti-union or whatever. And it's like, well, look. I oppose the large corporate scumbag unions that have existed for hundreds of years and have weird elites who run them who aren't these working class guys. The idea of, let's say you got a factory and there's like 30 employees and they're all just working class Joes and Janes or whatever. And they all get together and they're like, hey, man, the conditions are really bad. I think we should all, make a demand. So they all stop working and they get the manager and they say, hey, we're not going to keep working until you guys fix this thing. This thing's dangerous. We got a bad machine over here. And he says, no. And they say, well, then we're not working. Now you've got a real collective bargaining. You've got real stuff going on. I respect that. Mm-hmm. I respect that. It's not safe here. We're not getting paid enough. You need to fix this. What I don't respect, because in my experience with all these unions that I've been in, it's like you're an employee, you're in the union. The people who run the union are buddies with the management at the company, and they just tell you to shut up. And so all that ends up happening is someone takes money out of my paycheck and they don't do anything for me. And then they say, dude, don't you understand the things our contract is how good it is for you? And I'm like, I don't see any of that, dude. I don't see any raises. I don't see any benefits. You just tell me it exists and I got to give you $30 a month. Get out of my face.
I think there's parallels to what a lot of the establishment politicians have done to American people, right? With the way that they've probably been treated by their union bosses. I would probably say that we'll see probably in the next few days a news cycle about how they're going to try to spin it as like it's sexism now, right? Now that they put Kamala in there as there's such a precipitous drop in those numbers that it's because she's a woman or some spin on it. But again, I just think that there's such a strong corollary to the 2016 campaign that Trump ran, reversing the old kind of Republican tradition, whether it was free trade, immigration. And I think these people still see him as a fighter in that regard. And I think that's why we all loved him so much in 2016 and why we still love him today.
He's like a working class hero kind of guy. He just took that Republican Party and changed it. Or I guess, yeah, he did. He took what was left over of it after all the big money went up with Obama.
Because he was self-funded, right? He didn't have to, become a political prostitute to the Koch brothers, to all the people who want open borders. But the funny thing is, too, that I think, all those people, right, like the Never Trump wing of the Republican Party, there was just a stunning piece in Politico about 2 weeks ago. And it was how a bunch of Republican members of Congress are busy giving, off-the-record secret interviews to, I think it was Jonathan Martin, talking about how they want Trump to lose because they don't like the direction that he's taking the Republican Party, which is, of course, aligning it with the working class and not the donor interests, right? It makes it harder to get shady, swampy CRs passed. I'm looking at you, Speaker Mike Johnson. But when it comes to that alignment, you see another piece, too. The Huffington Post did a long profile on the Koch brothers, the Koch network, how they're getting ready to rebrand in what they're calling a post-Trump era. And the number one issue is immigration, that they don't like his approach to it, legal and illegal. And I think that's always sort of been the defining issue. And I think, the corollary, when you see what's going on in Springfield, yeah, part of it, you can look at it as, oh, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. But I don't think you have to start the discussion on the negative impacts of mass migration. You don't have to set the goalpost there. And I think people who belong to the Teamsters union are on the significant receiving end of horrible trade and horrible immigration policies, their lived experience in this country because of the policies that Kamala Harris and, frankly, Dick and Liz Cheney, who want to go out and endorse her, so it applies to both sides of the aisle. But they get it, and they see the BS that they're trying to spin.
Thanks for watching this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to check out the live show Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. on this channel. Subscribe, and we'll see you all there.